Hello everyone and welcome to my educational channel Gravity Tech. In this video, we will be learning the next topic of the Python programming language, which is loops. What are the loops in Python? How do we use loops in Python? And basically, what are the fundamental things you should be knowing before applying loops in a Python programming languages? Okay, so guys, I would like to remind you that if you find the value in the content, make sure that you hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any notifications for the new uploads. Also, share this channel link or the Python video links with your friends, relatives so that maximum people will get benefit out of this. Now, let's start with the Python loops. Okay, so, what exactly are we going to cover as a part of this session? The session objective is to know what are the loops in Python and then the next session topics, right? So, guys, uh, let's maybe like go to the IDE, right? I'm using a Spider IDE this time. Okay, so now you might have studied or learned the other programming languages like C, C++, Java, right? If you have learned those languages, you must be familiar with the loops. And the similar concept we have in a Python as well, right? So there are like two types of loops we have here, right? While loop and for loops. These are the two different types of loops we have. Now, what exactly the loops are? So loops in Python are similar the way we have in other programming languages. What are those used for? These are basically used to execute the block of code repeatedly. So let's say if you have some block of code, right? Let's say now the line 1, line 2, line 3. Now this block of code, if you want to execute it, let's say 100 times, that means what? Repeatedly. That then are you going to write this line of code 100 times? If you write this 100 times, right, what, how many lines will be there? 3 into 100, that will be what? That is going to be what? 300. If you just maybe imagine there are like 1000 lines, and then if you want to execute it like 1000 times, so how many lines of code it there will be? Correct. So if there are like 1000 lines, right, of code which you want to, let's say, execute for 800 times, let's not take 1000, right? So there will be like 1 2 1 2 3. So if you look at here, right, almost there are like 8 lakhs of line. So do you want to do you want to like write 8 lakh lines, or do you want to just write like 1000 lines and then put it into the loop to execute it for 800 times? It's always good to write the a 1000 lines. That's where basically the loops play the major role. Okay, and the loops are kind of essential programming construct which allows you to perform tasks such as iterating over the collection of data. So if you have some collection of data, right, you can iterate over on that. You can execute the piece of code uh, with like, let's say, specific number of times. You can also perform the repeatedly actions, right, until certain condition is made. That's how basically we do, right? So at broad level, there are two types of loops which basically Python provides, right? Now, let's maybe think before maybe going to the technical stuff, right? We'll see why the loops are important and how they are used, right? See, so they are basically used for uh, iterating over collections. So let's say you have the collections. Collections means what? You have the list, right? You have the tuple, you have the dictionary, you have the set. Okay, so if you have, or you have, let's say, vector, right, or any kind of maybe the data structures which basically part of the collections, if you have, you can basically use loops to iterate over those collections, right? Now the second thing what you can use the loops for is the repeated executions. Repeated executions, right? Now let's say you want to print thank you 100 times. So at that time you just need to write one line of code and the for loop or while loop as one, and then write within one or like 3 lines maximum you should be able to write a code which will basically print thank you 100 times or 1000 times or lakh times, right? So that's where to execute the repeated actions, right, or the repeated executions, we use the loops. Now the third thing is the conditional execution. Conditional execution. Now you will say, sir, there are like if else if and all, right, for the conditional executions. Yes, but let's say, right, if you want to print, if you want to print all multiple of 6, right, from 1 to 10,000. Now in this we want to print the numbers from 1 to 10,000, but the condition is what? They should be what? Multiple of 6. So in that case, inside the loop, you are going to basically take care of the conditional. That is where it comes as what? Conditional execution. Okay. Now, what is the next use case where maybe you will be using loops for, right? Simplifying the code. Simplifying the code, right? Now, what does that really mean? So loops basically help you to avoid the duplicating code, right? By allowing you to write a single line of code that basically gets executed multiple times. That basically reduces the code redundancy, right? That's what actually I said, right? If you want to write the code to run or print thank you 100 times, right? You really don't need to write the thank you, thank you, thank you, right? At 100 lines. You can simply say for I, right, in range 100, correct, print thank you. And what this code will basically do, it will simply print the thank you 100 times. See, if you look at the code output, right, this is the output. See, how many times did it print thank you? 100 times, is it? So we really didn't have to write this line 100 times. That's why the simplifying code it means. Okay, now what is the next thing? We use loops in automation, right? The loops are very essential for automating the repetitive tasks in your code, such as processing the large data sets. Let's say now if your employee base, if you have a company, if you are an organization, your organization has, let's say, 40,000 employees, right? 40,000 employees. And now if you want to basically search something inside this 40,000 records, you will basically have to do it like linear search, but you cannot basically write down 40,000 lines of code, right? You can simply do that within the 3 lines of code only, right? With the loops. So that's what actually we use it like to process the large data sets, handling user inputs, or perform the batch operations, right? Yeah. And the next one is what? The flexibility. Flexibility. What does that really mean? So Python loops are basically versatile, and those can be basically combined with the conditional statements too. Those can be combined with the functions too, and other programming constructs, which basically helps to create the complex and the dynamic behavior in your program. So these are basically the 6 basic reasons why do we use the Python loops, right? So in summary, what I can say, the loops in Python are the fundamental programming feature that enables you to perform the repetitive tasks, iterate over data, and control program flow efficiently. So they are basically essential for writing efficient and maintainable code in various application domains. Now let's quickly go through what are the for loops and what are the while loops, right? So we'll go through one by one. So the very first thing we'll go through is what? For while loop. Now why do we use the while loop is the first thing which we so in Python, a while loop is a control data structure that allows you to repeatedly execute the block of code as long as the certain condition remains true. Now the syntax for while loop is like this. Okay, so you will need to use the while keyword. You need to put some condition on there, and then whatever code you want to execute, right? So code to be executed as long as the condition is true. So what does that really mean, right? So until this condition is true, this block of code will be executed, right? So this condition is basically a Boolean expression that is evaluated before each iteration. Let's say now, if there are like 100 times this code is going to be executed, so this will be evaluated 100 times. If this condition gives you true, then this block of code will be executed, and this will be repeated until this condition results to what? False, right? And once it comes to false, basically it will come out. Now in for while loop, what are we going to study? The keywords, right? Keywords which we are going to study in this while loop are while, okay, continue, break, else. These are the keywords which we will be studying here. Now let's try to let's maybe try to put some iterative use case, right? Let's say now I want to display the numbers from 1 to 5, or let's say 1 to 10. Correct. Now this is the condition. What does that mean? The condition what? Now see, now there is one more thing what we should basically do, right? There should be a code to initialize. Okay, initialize, right? So initialize. You need to initialize the condition first. Not condition, but the whatever condition you're going to use, right? That should be initialized here, and then the condition here, and then at the end, right? There should be something increment or decrement, right? Like increase, decrease. So this is the way it should be. Now let's try to understand here in this use case what it is. The user wants to display the numbers from 1 to 10, right? Now where it starts at 1. So let's maybe change this to what? Start, or let's say number, right? We will basically say number is equal to what? 1. We initialize the condition, correct? Now from where we want to go? 1 to what? 10. So the condition will be what? The number should be less than equal to what? 10. This is the condition. It should be within this only, right? Now what we want to do? We want to display the numbers. That means it should be what? Here. What it is going to be? Display the numbers. Display means what? Print the number. Correct. But, and the next is what? Increment or decrement. Now let's maybe try. If you say number is equal to 1, it will come here, it will check. Okay, 1 is less than 10. Yes. So it will print the number. But if you don't increment the number here, what will happen? It will print the 1 infinite times. Why? The first time it will be 1 only number, second time number will be 1 1 1, and it will never basically change. If you look at now the output of this, right? See, it is still printing 1 1 1 1 1. Why? Because we haven't increment, or we basically didn't put the increment condition on the number, right? I'm just stopping that. So what basically we should do? We should say number is equal to what? Number plus 1. This you can also write number plus 1 is equal to what? Plus equal to what? Number 1. Now in this case what will happen? First number will be 1. This condition is false. It will go and print the number. Then the number will be increased by 1. So now in this case number will become 2. Again 2 will be less than 10. Print the number. Number will become 3. 3 is less than 10. So this will basically print the numbers until 10. And then when number is 11, it will basically come out. See now, if you try to run it, it basically prints from 1 to what? 10. Correct? So this is what the while loop is for. Now, then what is the break? Let's say, though we want to display the numbers from 1 to 10, but I want to exit the loop when number reaches to 8. Now, that's where break statement comes. Break means what? If you don't basically want to continue with the whole loop, and upon certain condition, if you come out, if you want to come out, you can basically do that. Now let's see. If we can say this, if number is equal to 7, I'm saying break. So what it is going to do, it will basically print all the 7 numbers, but when it says number is equal to 7, it will come out. It will not print the 8, 9 and 10. See, now in this case I can show you what is the output. See, it only printed until 7. So you can basically give the break and you can come out of the loop anytime by putting certain condition with the break out of the loop. Now that was the break. Now what about the continue? Correct. Now let's say if I change the order of this print, let's say if I change the order of the print, correct. Now what is going to happen? If I change the order of the print, it will not print 7 now, correct. It will only print the up till 6. Why? Because before printing 7 it comes to the break. Okay, if you look at here, let me just maybe quickly drop it down. Yeah, so here it is 1 to 6. Okay, now let's see if I don't want to print the odd numbers. If I don't want to print the odd numbers, now the third condition is what? Don't print odd numbers. What does that mean? All the odd numbers we need to basically just skip it. Now when it comes to skip, there comes a continue statement. Now let's say, what is the condition for the odd numbers? It is like percent 2 is not equal to what? 0. If the percent 2 is not equal to 0, that mod after dividing by 2 is not equal to 0, that basically will give you what? A odd number. Now when this condition meets, if the number is odd, continue, don't do anything, right? Now do you think this program is going to help us to give the output like this, like 2, 4, 6 and 8? Will this be output? This is what we are expecting, right? We don't want to print the odd numbers. Then what will happen here? Will that, let's see. If you look at here, it is not printing anything, nothing. Why? But it is still running, because it basically, when, if you look at number is equal to 1, it went into the infinite loop. Why infinite loop? Because the print statement is here, right? See, now if you try to print the before, right? No, it should be at the end only, right? What exactly you need to do? You need to increment the number, right? Even if you want to continue, but you need to increment the number. Now what will happen here? What will happen here? It will first come as with number as 1. 1% 2 is not equal to 0, so that's the odd number. Number will be increased to what? 2, and it will say continue. What does that mean by continue? After continue, whatever is there inside the loop, it will not execute. It will again go for the next iteration. Now the number is 2 is less than equal to 2, less than equal to 10. It will check, is that condition true? No. So it will not basically execute this part. It will come here and execute this. So it will print 2, then it will make number as a 3. It will go to the next iteration. Next iteration, this will be true. So this will be 3. So number will be 4. Nothing will be printed, like that, right? So if you try to run it now, Yeah. So here it is. See now 2, 4, 6, 4, 8, 2, 4, 6, 4, 8, and 10. Is it? So all the even numbers only got printed, but we wanted odd numbers. Is it? So if you want the odd numbers, you can just simply change this print and then put it into the condition, right? It will simply print the odd numbers here. See, you see 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. Right? That's how it is going to be the continuous statement and the break statement got. Now, what is else? Now, in other programming languages, neither of the loops have the else statement, but here in Python, there is a else statement. Let's say now, if I want to print all the odd numbers between the 100, right? And then once that loop is done, I want to have the else statement, right? That what it will basically say done with the while loop. So you can have the else statement for the while loop too. Else statement is the statement which will basically be executed when this condition will become false. So first this whole code will be executed 100 times, and then when number becomes 101, it will basically come here and say with will basically try to print number with number right now. It will basically give you the 100. Let's see now, 101 rather. See, do you see all the odd numbers are printed from 1 to 100, 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, all up till 99, and then at the end it goes into the else, right? Done with the while loop with the number 101, correct? So that's how else is also. I hope now you understood what is the while loop, continue, what is the break statement, what is the else statement in the while loop, right? Now let's go and work on a for loop. Okay, I will basically maybe put all this into a documentation comment so that we can directly start with what? A for loop. For loop, right? The same thing here. What keywords are we going to use here? Keywords will be what? For, continue, break, else, right? Okay, and the next topic we will basically see the nested loops. But let's maybe look at what the for loop is. So in Python, a for loop is basically used to iterate over the sequences. Now, what are those sequences? The sequences are like the lists, tuple, string, right? I will basically put, I was supposed to put it as hash to make it as a comment, right? String, range, dict, and all, right? That's a sets. Okay. So all these kind of sequences where maybe, right, or the iteratable objects the for loop is used for. Okay. Now the for loop basically allows you to execute a block of code repeatedly for each time the iteration happens. Now what is the syntax of for loop, right? So the syntax of for loop is a for keyword, right? Some variable and in iterable. Now this iterable can be anything. It can be list, tuple, string, range, dict, set, and anything as iterable object. What does that mean? Hash map and all. Okay. Now, and then here the code to execute. Now, until this iteratable right finishes, this code will be executed. Now let's So variable is basically what? This is a temporary variable which takes on the value of each value in the iterable, right? And then this is sequence what we saw. Now let's try to reiterate. Let's try to write a for loop to iterate over the numbers, right? Let's say there is a numbers array 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correct. This is the array we have, and then we basically want uh, to iterate over the complete numbers. So what basically we will write for number in numbers, print the number, print number. Now what it will do? For number, in numbers, it will go into the numbers like in this. First time the value of number will be 1, it will print number. Then next time the value will be number of 2, print 2. Then the next it will be 3, print 3. Next 4, print 4. Like that. And then it will basically iterate over the complete thing. What is the difference between the while and for here? While requires the incremental and decremental step, whereas for doesn't require. Right? Now, let's see. So if you want to run this, what basically it is going to do? See, it will print 1 to 5 numbers. Correct? Is it? Now, how do you iterate over the string? Let's say, right? How do we iterate over the string? Now, if you say name is equal to Teja, correct? Now, if you want to print all the characters in this name, right? What you can basically just do for char in name, what it will do, and then print the char. Correct. What it will do, it will first char will have the T, then print T, E, print E, J, and then A like that. See. So if you look at here, right, Teja, is it? So this is how you can iterate over the string. Now you can also iterate over the or the range of the numbers, right? Now let's say if you want to print the numbers from numbers until let's say 100. If you want to print the numbers until 100, what it is going to do? It will print all those numbers starting from 1 to 100. See, you see up till 99, and then it started with 0. So 0 to 99 all got printed, right? Now, what is this range? Range is the function. By default, it takes, see the range, if you look at here, right? So I can maybe we just tell you what is the range. See, what is the range? It has the start, it has the stop, and the step. Now, if you don't give the start, it will assume 0 as the start, right? Default start is what? Default start is 0. So it will start, it will assume this is what? 0 to 100 if you don't provide anything, right? But if you can also provide the start as well. Let's say if you want to print everything from 34 to 100, then you can basically use range function like this. What it will do, it will now not start with the 0, it will now start with the 34 and up till 99. See, now it started with this. Now there's third parameter here that talks about step. What is the step? Step means what? By what step you need to go, right? Let's say if you want to reach to the temple, and if the temple has the 100 steps there, if the person has the capability to maybe skip like 2 steps at one time, what does that mean, right? By default it will skip the one step at one time, but you can basically also have someone who can basically skip the more steps. The step is something which will help to define the the skips, right? Now in this case by default it is a 1, but if you don't give us the 1, and if you, let's say if you give us a 4, what it will do, it will start with the 34, it will end at the 100, but it will print every number after 4. Let's say first it will print 34, then it will print 38, 30, 42 like that. So if you look at the output of here, right, of the for loop, see 98, 94 and all, it basically started with 34, and then with the steps as a 4. Correct. So that's what the range function is, and then you can use the for loop with the range, right? Now you can also use the for loop with the dictionary. How you can use the dictionary, right? Let's say now if you have one sample dict, now in the sample dict, let's say we have the name, correct? Name Teja, correct? Then it's age 45, okay? City, let's say Pune, is it? Now if you want to print all the keys, right, for key in sample dict, you can basically print the key and sample dict and the key. Now what it will print, it will go to here and it will first print the key value, so it will be like name, and then what do we have, the value of the name, that is Teja, so here it will print Teja. The second iteration it will print age and 45 and city and Pune, like that in third iteration. So if you look at the output of this, it says a invalid syntax. Now why it is the invalid syntax? Correct, where is the invalid syntax we have? Now it says for key. We forgot the in keyword. Okay, where it needs to look at. So you need to have the troubleshooting skills as well good, right? So that you can immediately find out what exactly the error was, right? The error says after key and sample dict there is something is missing. Okay, now that's how we can iterate over the dictionary, right? You can also iterate over the key value pairs and then only key, right? All that. You can also iterate over the tuples. You can iterate over the lists. And then let's say let's maybe take an example of the list, right? Now let's take an example of the list. A common example which basically everyone takes, let's say fruits, apple, banana, cherry. Correct. Now for fruit, in fruits, right, I want to basically print all the fruits one by one, so it will now print apple, banana and cherry. Correct. So if you look at here, apple, banana and cherry. But what if I don't want to print the banana, but I want to print apple and cherry, right? Then we can just basically use if fruit is equal to what, banana, don't do anything, we can say what, continue. What we can say, continue, and then it will not print the banana, it will only print the apple and cherry here. So if you look at here, it will just print apple and cherry. Correct. Now similarly, if you want to break as soon as you hit the banana, if you want to break as soon as you hit the banana, what it will do then, it will first have fruit as apple. Is the fruit as a banana? No, it will print the apple, then it will go to the banana. Is fruit banana? Yes, it will come out. So it will only print the apple in this case now, nothing else. Correct. So if you look at the answer, it only prints the apple, right? The way we have the else for the for while, here also we have the else, right? So what else it will be, right? Let's say, so the else statement could look like this, where you can say print done with for loop. Correct. Now once this is done, it will basically go into the else and print this part or execute this part. Okay, now this is what the while loop and for loop is. Now what about the nested loops? Nested loops, have you ever heard of the cross product? Have you ever heard of the cross product of two sets? Now I'll basically quickly give you what exactly the cross product of two sets. Let's say A is the one set, 1 2 3. Okay, and B is the another set, A and B. Now if you want a cross product of this, if you want a cross product of this, what will be the cross product? Cross product means what? A star B, right? What it is going to have, it will be again a set, but it will have the ordered pairs like this: 1A, 1B, 2A, 2B, 3A and 3B. So basically what is happening, this one is getting associated with both. Correct. Then 2 again associated with both, 3 associated with both. What does that mean? So it is basically iterating one by one and over another. That is the iteration and the nested loop. Now let's take this as an example, right? Set A. Let's take this example only, right? Set A is this, right? Set B. Set B is this, correct? Now this would be what? The A like this, the string, and the B as a string, correct? Now we want to write the cross product. How do we do? For first element in what? Set A. So first element we will be taking it from first set A, C1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, right? And then for second element in what? Set B. So now the second element will be, this will be from set B, from this, correct? Now we want to print what exactly we want to print, correct? Like this, we want to print it like this. Then the first element, then comma will be there, and then the second element and the end of the bracket. I just wanted to print this in this format. So this curly bracket means this one as a string, then the number is this, that means first element, then again a semicolon, sorry, yeah, so this is a colon, semicolon, or comma, sorry, it's a comma. Now the second element, so second element, again comma, and the ending this. Now when you try to run this, see what basically it gives. See, 1b, 1a, 2b, 2a, 3b, 3a. Got it? The same answer, because it's a set, so order really doesn't matter, right? So that's how this means a nested for loop. For loop inside the for loop, that is called as a nested for loop. Okay, so that's what actually we saw on the loops. So what we saw the while loops, for loops. Then we saw the continue statement, break statement, else statement, right? And past statement is same as what? Continue. Okay, and then we saw the nested for loops. Similarly, you can have the nested while loops as well. Okay, now let's go back to our slides. Yeah, so this is what actually I had it from this video. In the next video, I will come up with the Python functions. Guys, I would like to remind you that if you like the video, right, just make sure that you subscribe to the channel and share this channel with all of the needy people who really want to learn the Python. Okay, so please do not forget to like, subscribe, and share. I wish you happy learning with the Gravity Take. Thank you.